I wonder what time it is.
Sticker time!
Welcome to...
Okay. So we've cut up a bunch of logs and we've got to start drying them. And so this video is about how to dry and stack green lumber. When you're drying lumber, you want to be sure that everything is on the same plane. And this starts from the bottom and goes all the way up. So we've began with these 4 spacers here. They're 2.5 by 4 feet long, 2.5 inches so that the forks could get underneath them, and 4 foot long because we've got 4 foot long forks. Now if you have 3 foot long forks, you're going to want 3 foot long spacers and also 3 foot long stickers. And this is very imperative that it is on the same plane. This wood's going to be here for a while. They say 1 inch per year. So if we have 2.5 inch slabs, that's up to 2.5 years that it'll be here. Now this is how we establish an initial plane. We've got this straight board here. We cut a straight edge on the bottom here. And you want to be sure to lay it on as many spacers as you can. It doesn't reach all the way across to this floor, but we'll get to that later. So we're going to start with the 3 here, and we're going to make sure we start with the back. Once you establish the back is on the same plane, you just move to the front and make sure it's the same as well. Then you use the middle 2 planes to transfer that plane to the last spacer. We've established our first layer of lumber with these 2.5 inch slabs. Now we're ready for stickers. Now this is not a giant game of Jenga. This is us organizing these stickers. They're 1 by 1 by 48 inches long, but they're not you want it to be exactly perfect to be on the same plane. And you'll need a flat surface, of course, to make sure that they're on the same plane. Like these. Dink. And I'm putting them in the same order as they were when I made sure they were flat.
You didn't move.
But you want me to stay there.
No, I didn't want you to stay there.
Take one for the team. Now let's check out some of this quarter sawn red oak.
It's a little better.
At this point, this is about as much lumber as our 60 horsepower tractor can handle. So we're going to switch from stickers to spacers. And the reason why you would add spacers is you want to accommodate your forks. And if you continue to stack it without the spacers, then it may be too much for your tractor to handle, and then you may have to unstack it by hand. Another thing to consider is to make sure that all your stickers are stacked on top of each other. That way they're load bearing.
As you progress in your stack, you have to keep in mind that you want your thicker stuff at the bottom because it's going to take more weight in order to compress and keep those members straight and like on that same plane, right? You're going to need to keep in mind how many spaces you have for your bigger slabs. In this case, I can put 3 slabs on a 48-inch sticker. I don't want to cut 7 4-inch slabs because then I'm going to have a random slab that I really don't have anything to do with because it takes so much weight. You have to think ahead. So how many logs do you have? So if I had 24 logs, then I could probably get like 12 4-inch slabs. Still working in 3s, right? So just keep that in mind. And remember, you always want to align the pith with your thicker stuff. If you can't get it in the center or close to the center, mill your thicker members as far away from the pith as you can get, either through the middle of the pith or as far away from the pith as you can get. As you're moving forward, you're going to have to maintain the same plane, the same thickness. So you can't do this number. So all of your boards have to either be 1 1/4 inch, 2 inch. In my case, these are 2.5 inch slabs. And then I got some 1 inch boards as well. All of those have to be in the same plane. So if I have a 4 inch slab, I can't put two 2 inch pieces together because then mold mildew will join in between them. So they all have to have air in between them. And so that needs to be, considered moving forward. Now, if you're milling off a gazillion, 2-bys, don't worry about it. If you got a random board, take it to the neighbor, trade it for some eggs. That's that pith I was talking about. Get it as centered as you can. You're going to want to cover your slabs, or any lumber for that matter, any green lumber, from the direct sun. You want them to dry, but you don't want them to just bake in the open sun. It'll keep checking down to a minimum. You're going to end up with a lot better product. I've found old tarps, stuff you can't really take to the beach no longer because the missus is sick of getting wet. About the best thing I found is old discontinued trucker tarps. They're awesome, and the wind doesn't, beat them up near as bad. They're already kind of destroyed. You can throw them in a wad. No one cares.
We stumbled across this Ambrosia maple here on our property, and the reason why it's called Ambrosia maple is because this little beetle called an Ambrosia beetle bores into the wood, and it's got a fungus on its legs, and when it bores into the wood, it makes these beautiful streaks, and you can see right there the dots are where it bore into that wood. Pretty neat. We mentioned earlier that green lumber stacked together creates a fungus, and you can see right here, this is just after 2 days over the weekend, which isn't that big of a deal because we're preparing this by scraping and brushing it off here. See, it just comes right off. But if you were to stack it like that, no bueno.
No bueno. It does stain the surface a little bit. Remember me telling you about earlier how you needed to think about allocating certain members, like especially your big 4 inches and stuff like that? Well, I had a whole bunch of 2-bys, ripped a whole bunch of 2.5 bys, and ended up with 2 14-footers, 12.5 footers, and then that was it. So what we decided to do was start ripping the smaller stuff at 2.5 inches. I think it's 9.5 feet. And then this is what you have to do. So you have to add spacers, so you always maintain the same plane. Some of you might even be in Spain. There we go. See? Bink. Same plane. So if you find yourself with a bow, so you see how there's a slight bow in the middle of this stack? I know it's probably hard to see, but it's there. I was hoping it would go away as we loaded it up with wood, but it's not. So you want to take you a sticker that's thick. You want to whittle it like that. You want it straight grain hardwood, oak, white ash, hickory, something of that nature. You try to drive it in. You want to drive it in where you need it to come up. So the middle's bowed a little bit, it's probably about 1/4 inch, so 3/8 of an inch this way. So I'm going to drive in this whole edge of this stack to raise that up until it's perfectly level. I'm going to use a string line. I'm going to go between the two 4x4s, because that 4x4 is actually where it starts. You guys are going to come across boards that aren't just going to act right. They're going to keep on checking, even though you've cut them right to begin with the grain. Sometimes they're split 4 ways and there's nothing you can do about it. Hanger tape and 1-inch roofing nails. That's about as quick as easy as a fix as I could find. I've been working on the railroad all the live long day.
Woman's work. So we got our wood all stacked up here, but this is not the final step. There's one more really important thing you've got to do, and that is the wood is going to want to warp and lift. So you've got to put a lot of weight on the very top of the stack. So what we've done is we've straddled the spacers and stickers all the way down with 2 stickers and put a scrap piece of wood on top and loaded it up with rock. We have a bunch of rock laying around. You could use anything you want, car batteries, whatever you got. And the last thing that we'll do with this stack of wood, you don't want direct sunlight on your wood because it dries out too fast, it checks. So we're going to wrap the front of this. This is a south-facing opening that this wood is exposed to. So we're going to wrap it up with some house wrap that we had laying around. You could use anything you want. You could use tin, trucker's tarps work really well, whatever you got laying around. Now we've been doing this for a few years now. At first it was a bit of a mess. I think we've got it a little bit more organized. So I hope this helps you if you've never stacked wood before. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. And if you have any innovative ways of stacking your wood, be sure to comment as well. Happy stacking.